welcome to the Fishbowl Radio, everybody. My name is Chief here, and joining me today is Jalen. We're doing the Louisiana Raging Cajun on a bye week this week for football. We're going to be talking about their volleyball team and the soccer team, and we're going to be picking the Sun Belt Conference games this week. As of note, as of the recording of this, App State and Coastal Carolina is underway currently right now, and right now, Coastal Carolina is taking care of business against the App State Mountaineers. So, anyway, without further ado, let me introduce everybody to Jalen. How you doing today, Jalen?
I'm doing good, Chief. It's a great day to be a Cajun, like always, and I'm just ready to get to it.
All right, Jalen. So we're gonna be talking about this a little bit of a review about what happened this past weekend here. The Cajuns played Texas State this past weekend. They ended up getting a 34-30 victory over the Bobcats here. And I thought the Cajun offense looked good, except for some like turnover mistakes. Sion Chris, making a bad decision, trying to throw the ball out of bounds. And luckily, it felt incomplete after a thorough review by the officiating staff here. Gerald Washington was trying to run the ball for one of them, fumbled the ball right on the like 10, 15-yard line, somewhere around there. We were both at the game, Jalen. What was some things you took away from that game that you think the Cajuns can maybe improve on as they head on down the road?
I think special teams played the best game that they played all year, with Dalen Cambrick on and blocking that punt, which set up the Cajuns. Chris's touchdown. I mean, I think it was a phenomenal play by him, phenomenal play by the special teams unit. I think they played the best game of the year, and it was great that they had this great game because at first the Cajuns were. It was hard to stop TJ Finley on offense at first. So the defense stepped it up, and I think it's an overall great win for the Cajuns. I think some areas they can improve on still is just trying to limit some of those turnovers. I know in the run game they had a key turnover, and it looked like Jalen Washington barely got touched and he fumbled the ball. But things happen, and you just got to try to come back next series and try to limit the mistakes. But I think overall, I think the Cajuns played a really great game.
I saw a lot of Sunbelt pages during the week last week, and it seemed like everybody was picking Texas State. And I was like, I think you're kind of underestimating the Cajuns here because let's be honest here. I think the Cajuns were going to score on that drive that Daryl Washington fumbled the ball. They were driving down the field, and like at least two of those turnovers there, there were fumbles. They were driving down the field, and they were able to run against Texas State's defense. The Cajuns controlled the line of scrimmage, and they were able to push Texas State's defensive line back for a lot of the game there. They just had, unfortunate opportunities that happened to them. So the Cajuns could have easily won this game. You could add another 14 points to the Cajun score, and everybody would have been like, "Oh, it's a big blowout for the Cajuns this week." Basically, it looked like it was going to be an 18-point game. It seemed like if those would have happened there. But look, we even got comments on YouTube saying that no respect for Texas State, but we didn't mean any disrespect to anybody. It was just call it like we see it here. So I mean, that's one of the things here. Texas State's got a very good ball club, and we said that last week it was going to be a battle of philosophies, and one with transfer portal, and the other one against like trying to recruit the old-fashioned way with building up your program for 4 years, and getting recruits to come in from high school and build it up that kind of way. So I think Texas State's definitely up and coming for sure. But next year, I think they might make that next step forward here if they can continue walking down that path and building their program because they look like they're definitely way ahead where they should be under their first year head coach themselves there. So that's something we have to look forward to as we cover Sunbelt football and all the other stuff there. So I thought it was fun though. I think Cajun's defense played a little bit better than a lot of people would think. You would look at the score if you just looked at it and be like, oh, 30 points given up is a lot of points. But if you break it down a little bit more here, the Cajuns were losing at halftime. It was 20-14 at halftime when they got there. But the Cajuns only gave up 10 points in the second half, which they made a bunch of adjustments there. They were able to finally slow down Texas State's offense. And it was looking like it was going to be a shootout for a while there. But Cajuns ended up getting 13 points in the fourth quarter, which was able to put to bed Texas State there. So it was a crazy game for sure here. And the predictor had the Cajuns winning anyway. the predictor again. I'm running it here just for fun. What the next pitfalls for the Cajuns could possibly be. It's got two losses for the Cajuns against South Alabama and Troy, which they're both on the road. Cajuns have won on the road this year, but they've lost the majority of their road games. One was against Minnesota, which I think they played well over there, and against Old Dominion, which was Ben Woodward, that starting quarterback there. Ben got hurt in game 3, but since Ben's been hurt, Cajuns won UAB, Buffalo. They lost to Minnesota, and they won Texas State. So they're 3-1 without him. So I mean, it's hard to say like where the Cajuns would be if Ben was starting over Zion Chris or the other way around. But um, it, I think, like I said, I've been saying this all year. Zion Chris definitely opens up a different aspect to that offense. His running ability, you have to take in effect with him. The way to stop Zion Chris, if you're a defensive guy, is to put a spy as a linebacker and just see what happens with that there. So that's one thing that they're going to have to adjust for. And that's what these other teams are going to have to do here. They do play Georgia State, which is not this Saturday. It's next Saturday. This is a bye week for the Cajuns here. So with all that though, Zion Chris is actually ranked in the top 20 of quarterback efficiency this year. Jalen, what you think about all that?
I think that's awesome. I mean, I honestly didn't know that, Chiefs. That's a good stat you just brought out there. But I think Zion is having a great year. I mean, besides the loss to Minnesota, which he played a pretty good game, I think he has 100% guaranteed that he's a starter for the rest of the season, even if Ben comes back. And like you said, Zion adds something to that offense. It's just you never know if he's going to tuck it and run. You don't know if he's going to pass it. You don't know if he's going to make a trick play. He's just an overall great player. He's a great quarterback, and I think the Cajuns can keep winning with him at quarterback. I just want to see what's gonna happen further down the line when they start facing some more Sun Belt teams. Like, can he keep this momentum going? Because Texas State, even though they're a building program, they're still a great team, and it was a great comeback win that they had. So I want to see how well Zion keeps playing going forward.
Yeah, that's something that I'm interested in seeing what's going to happen here. If you look at what the Cajuns have done, like there's a lot of doubt, like would Zion be ready to go and that kind of thing there, which is normal, right? Zion reminds me of I hate to like compare players because they all have their own different styles and stuff, but definitely like a Levi Lewis to me. Except in the differences between him and Levi Lewis, I think Zion's got I think he's more accurate. I think he's got a little bit better arm. I think he moves more north and south than Levi Lewis would do. Levi Lewis would kind of dance around a little bit and end up escaping the pocket at some point. But whenever it's kind of hard to tell between the two which one's faster. I think Zion might have him beat. Like he's taller. He's definitely taller than Levi. What you think, Jalen? You think that's a good comparison?
Oh yeah, I think that's a great comparison. And like you said, he's just he's taller. He looks like he's a little bit bigger than Levi. And but I think they're both great quarterbacks. But like you said, I think Zion is just he. I'm not gonna say he's better than what Lewis was, because Levi Lewis dedicated the Sun Belt Championship to the game and they won. So I can't take anything away from Levi Lewis. But Zion is just being the young player that he is. He's able to make these plays, and he's a freshman. I mean, it's crazy that he's out there. He's balling like he's been doing this for years, and then he came in for an injured Ben Woolders. Like, he didn't even start that game. He just came in and did what he had to do, helped the Cajuns, kept them out, and then they ended up winning a couple games more down the road. I just like the player that he's developing and how he's becoming into a great Cajuns quarterback.
Yeah, that's something that we're having to see and watch him progress as a player, and that's something that it's interesting to see what's happening with everybody here. But yeah, like it's kind of hard to compare guys, right? Because um,
Yep.
it's because he's a redshirt freshman. So if you look like deeper into the stats and stuff, I think he has a completion percentage of like 68 to 70%. Somewhere around there. I'm trying to see if they got anything going, like his highest totals. Um, it's this is they got it by they don't have it by the season. Okay, so they have it by game here. So the only time he dipped below 70% was against Minnesota. He only threw 56%. And that was his second most passes that he threw. But he's completing a lot of passes. Like he's Texas State 76.5% completion percentage. He didn't throw any interceptions. He came really close to throwing one, but he threw 3 touchdown passes. He had a good one to Peter LeBlanc, which was a way down the field, and they're very nice throw. He was able to stretch their defense there. Um, Buffalo, he threw 2 picks and had a touchdown there, but he threw for 75.9%. UAB he threw for 70%. Minnesota he threw for 25 times. He had 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions in that game. So if the one thing that Levi Lewis did a good job was not being careless with the football, right? He was really efficient. He was able to get passing touchdowns and not turn the ball over, which made him a really good quarterback. You love quarterbacks like that, right? So, if he can keep up what he's doing here and is able to, to take that next step of development and limit the turnovers here, he's going to be a really special player for this Raging Cajun football program because that's limiting turnovers that causes you to lose games and stuff. And I think that may be a big piece of him developing as a player. That is something he's going to learn, like because he does this thing when he tries to throw the ball out of bounds that he doesn't quite get enough on it or whatever, and he just ends up like not quite getting it or not getting it far enough away, or it just seems like not putting enough on it or whatever, and it ends up getting intercepted or because he's gotten picked off at least 2 times doing that already. So that's one area he needs to work on. But other than that, I've been impressed with him. So Jalen, we're gonna talk a little bit about volleyball here, real quick here. They kind of split the series against Texas State. They're 1-1 on each of them there, and like they're heading into their next series against Arkansas State. No, not Arkansas State. That was last week before. South Alabama. I apologize. On October the 13th on this Friday coming up, and on the 14th at 1 p.m. They'll be at Earl K. Long, which I've been wanting to go to a volleyball game. I mean, I've been there before volleyball games. It's been tough. I hadn't had a chance to go down there this year, but I might make a trip on the 13th or something. But anyway, it's always nice to see the Cajuns play volleyball right now. So far this year, they're 12-8. They're 3-3 in conference play here. So sitting around 500 there. So if they can beat South Alabama for both games, that'd be pretty huge for them here. So Jalen, what's your expectations for the team coming into the softball? I mean, not softball, volleyball game.
I think them being Cajuns rather being 12-8. I feel like they want to improve some more on their record because they're 3-3 right now in Sun Belt play. And I know they want to get these series wins because they'll win a couple and they'll lose and they'll win a couple. So it's like they want to win, especially against some better opponents. But I think coming Friday, I think the Cajuns have something to prove. It's Friday, which spooky season, Friday the 13th. I expect the Cajuns to scare the South Out Jags right out of LK Long and win that first game, and then come back Saturday and just take the series.
This is a really big game for the Cajuns softball. I mean, not why I keep saying softball. It's volleyball, man. Maybe I'm excited for softball season or something. But anyway, so in the West Division, South Alabama is undefeated in conference play so far, and they're 15-3 here. So and Cajuns are third right now. They're third in the West right now. So if they can figure out how to beat South Alabama, that would be huge. Like these are very two big games because if end up being 5-3, and South Alabama will be 6-2 here. So that's one way to look at it. They're third right now. They have a good shot at it. Um, I just don't see it happening. I'm gonna go with South Alabama to beat them. I think if the Cajuns stick to the script here, basically, they'll be 1-1, splitting the series with them, but them being undefeated in conference here. But I'm pulling for the Cajuns right now. Like it's gonna be one of those that you don't know how to really feel about it here. On the eastern side of the division and Sun Belt and stuff, you got James Madison leading the way, followed by Coastal Carolina. Both of those teams are doing very well as well. It's Alabama though; they're 15-3 on the year. Troy's 8-8, but they're 6-0 in conference play as well. The Cajuns after South Alabama to take on Old Dominion, ULM, Southern Miss, then App State. They did play Troy earlier this year, which they ended up losing both of them at home. So um we'll see what happens. Hopefully I'm the best opportunity outcome I think is gonna happen is gonna be a split, but I think Caden drop both of them though. I hate to say it, Jalen, but I think that's what's gonna happen. So as we move on to soccer, Jalen, the Cajuns are 5-6 and they have 2 draws on the year. They're 2-4 in conference play so far. They haven't had any ties here. It hasn't really gone the way of the Cajuns so far this year. They play South Alabama in Mobile on Sunday, and then they come back home against Arkansas State next week on that Thursday. So that's one that they pick up a big win against Southern Miss here. So as we look, let me pull up the standings for soccer going on so far this year. The Sun Belt's been pretty good at soccer though. Like, I mean, they've been like
Oh yeah.
top tier conference. That it's like Marshall and the rest of them have been not Marshall. It was or is it men's soccer? It's not women's soccer, it's men's soccer, I think. I could be wrong, but yeah. Anyway, they're 5-6 and they got 2 ties so far this year. They're 1-2 in conference play. Right now, Cajuns are second to last in the Western Division. So they play South Alabama. It's a big game for them. If they can end up beating them, it'll be 3-4. What you thinking, Jalen?
Man, I think Cajun soccer, they have to get this win. I mean, looking at the last 10 games they've had where it's been a couple wins and a couple ties, but the rest has been losses. I think they need to bounce back and try to get this win against South Al. I know it's going to be on the road, which they are 3-3 with 2 ties on the road this year. But I think they need to go on and get this dub because not only would that set them up further down the line when it comes to the Sun Belt tournament, well, you're beating a Sun Belt team. I just think it gives you all the momentum, and momentum is a thing in sports, bro. It's just it's one of the biggest things you need in sports. Whereas they win Sunday on the 15th, and they play Arkansas State that following Thursday, and then they have Troy that following Sunday. I mean, that's 3 straight Sun Belt opponents, and you got Marshall after that. And then right after that game against Marshall is when the Sun Belt Conference Championships are. I think those 4 games are key games that they need to win, that they have to win to try to secure some kind of momentum heading into Sun Belt play to see where the team is at. I know Chris McBride is trying to
Right
see
the
what
ship for
he
sure.
can do. Yeah, exactly. I think Chris McBride, if I'm not mistaken, he was at Southeastern for a couple of years before he came to the Cajuns. This is what
Yeah,
his second year, third year,
I think it's his second year, if I
second
remember
year.
right.
So he's still trying to build that pro because once you get a new coach, it's kind of
Yeah.
like building a new program. So I think he's just trying to get his foot in and being his second year, and I think pulling off key wins against some of these teams in the Sun Belt. I think he's doing a great job so far at the Cajuns. They just need to just pick it up.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here. I mean, that's kind of one thing here. I got them losing to South Alabama on the road, but I think just give them time. They'll be able to figure it out, or we'll see where it goes. That's just one thing I'm looking at it here. So as of right now, App State is playing Coastal Carolina, like we mentioned earlier in this podcast here. So we're gonna give everybody a let's go pick some Sun Belt games, Jalen. What you think about that?
Hey, let's do it.
All right here. So I'm gonna pull up the
Fun
little.
part of the segment right here. Picking who we
This is
think
the
gonna win these games.
if I had to predict the Sun Belt, the Arkansas App State versus Coastal at App State here. If you ask me to pick this before they played here, I mean I think App State would have won. I'm gonna stick with that pick here. Even though they're losing currently right now in the game right now as they're playing live, it's 17-10. I think App State's gonna come back and win this. Who you got, Jalen?
Yeah, before the game was even played, I was gonna pick App State too, and I'm still gonna go with App State. I think they're gonna make a comeback and come back and win this game at home.
All right, Georgia Southern at James Madison. You know, James Madison's been leading basically the East here, which I don't know why that transfer thing is such a big deal for like moving up from FCS to FBS. It's a bunch of baloney. It's really bad, like for the student athletes and stuff, I think, or they should be able to compete for a championship right when they walk into a new conference or whatever. But James Madison would have been I think, yeah, they would have been in the championship game last year if it wasn't for that, even though they lost two games in conference here. Or I'm trying to remember, would they have been in it or they would have got beaten out by Colts? I'm trying to remember who won that game last year. Because I know it's decided by head to head, I think. Let me see. I'm gonna go look at it real quick since I'm right here. Yeah, they beat Coastal last year, so they would have been in it. So and they wasn't even close last year. So this year, once again, they're back at the top here. Um, so Jalen, who you got? They're both at the top of the division here. So who you going with? The East.
I'm gonna have to go with James Madison. Now I know like you said last year, coming up short, we're losing two games in the East Division. I think that set the tone for this year for them saying we're going to go back, we're going to win, and we're going to try to do what the Cajuns did the year before in 2021 and try to go undefeated in Sun Belt play. Now I think this year I think James Madison is really the team to beat. I really think they are. Now I know Georgia Southern, they're right up there. I know last year the Georgia Southern team was in the middle of the pack in the East, but this year they're like right behind them. They're both undefeated in conference play. Georgia Southern's only lost one game. James Madison's undefeated. I think it's gonna be a great game. It should be honestly the Sun Belt game of the week. But I think I'm gonna go with James Madison. They're gonna keep that momentum going and win their sixth game in a row. That's crazy.
Okay, so I was looking at this and I was going to decide it's 11 a.m. kickoff on ESPN2. It's gonna be one of the games I'm gonna be watching early because this is a huge Sun Belt game. It's gonna really determine how the East is getting set up for this midpoint of the season here, trying to figure out where everybody's talking for positions and seeing what's gonna happen here. So I think I think James Madison gets it. If it had been at Georgia Southern, I might have picked Georgia Southern here because I think this is gonna be one of those where the home crowd really gets into it here. And I think them going to Harrisonburg, Virginia is going to be a big difference in the game. Give me James Madison to knock off Georgia Southern. All right, next game here. Troy is going to go to Army. You know what? I'm going to go with Troy winning this game. I think Troy's defense is going to be the big difference in this game. Who you got, Jalen?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Troy also. Troy are gonna be on the road, but I think they're gonna pull out against Army 2:30 kickoff. I think Troy is they're leading the West Division right now. I think they're gonna keep that momentum rolling as they take on Army.
All right, next one here. Marshall at Georgia State. Now, Georgia State is the Cajuns' opponent next week here. So this is the one that Cajun fans are going to want to really tune into and see what's going to happen here. So for those that are not familiar with it, Marshall is undefeated in Sun Belt play so far. They're 1-0, 4-1. We're really starting to get into conference play here. Georgia State, on the other hand, is 1-1. They're 4-1 so far this year. So it's kind of interesting, right? So one way I like to look at teams and who they played here, Georgia State here, you look at the record, they're 4-1, right? You got to look at who they play. They beat Rhode Island, they beat UConn, and they won Charlotte, and they beat Coastal. Troy, and they lost to Troy as well. Now, if you're going to go look on the flip side of this, you have to wonder, oh, who did Marshall play? So you go look ahead, and their schedule sets up as Albany at East Carolina, Virginia Tech, Old Dominion at NC State here, which they had a very close game against them. I'm more impressed with what Marshall has done so far this year than Georgia State has. I'm going with the Thundering Herd. Who you got, Jalen?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Marshall also. I mean, the fact that they were able to beat Virginia Tech and then they went to NC State and only lost by a touchdown. I think they're a really good team this year, and they're gonna come out there and come out with the win against Georgia State.
Ali's also their running back, so that helps too.
Oh, that helps. That helps a lot.
UL Monroe at Texas State. The Cajuns opponent this past weekend was Texas State, and they ended up losing that one here. So looking at Sun Belt play, trying to see where everybody's at in this. So right now, Texas State's right behind the Cajuns in third. ULM hasn't won a conference game yet. They're 0-2 here, but ULM did give App State a run for their money about 2 weekends ago. Not too much to happen against South Alabama. South Alabama destroyed UL Monroe 55-7 this past weekend here. Now they got to go on the road against Texas State. Jalen, what you thinking about Texas State and ULM this weekend?
I think Texas State's gonna come out there and get the win. And the crazy thing about their schedule too, when they this is one of three straight home games that Texas State has in San Marcos. And I think they're gonna defeat ULM. ULM is kind of they're struggling so far in Sun Belt play. Like you said, that gave App State a run for their money. I mean, they only lost by 1 point to App State. They kind of lost badly to South Al a week later. But I just think that it's gonna be tough for them to beat a team in Texas State who had a lot of momentum. They lost to our Cajuns, but I still think Texas State is a great team. I think they're gonna come out with the win.
Yeah, I mean they got three straight home games, which is very good for them. They do have a bye week in between ULM and Troy. So that's going to help them out when they go play Troy. It's going to give them an extra week of preparation. I do think they get the win against ULM, and I think that will be one of the big differences in that game there. So that's what I'm thinking. So we'll see what happens here. They got Troy, then they got Georgia Southern. We'll see what happens with them later on down the road. That's because they still got a lot of football left to be played, and it's going to be another exciting week in college football this week here. So, thank y'all for tuning into the Fishbowl Radio here today. Is there anything I'm forgetting, Jalen, before we get out of here?
Oh, I don't think there's anything you're forgetting, Chief. Just for the Cajuns fans, just know that this weekend the Cajuns are on a bye and they kick things off next week on the 21st when they play at home, homecoming against Georgia State.
Homecoming. Also, it's a 7 o'clock kickoff as well, and it's also going to be on national TV as well. So if you can't make it to the game, it will be on ESPNU for your viewing pleasure. All right, thank y'all for tuning into the Fishbowl Radio here. Hope you have a great and wonderful day or night, whatever time you're watching this podcast. Hope you have a great time, and we'll see y'all next week here, Fishbowl Radio.